Good afternoon, and welcome to the End of Life Journey and Beyond, the Sands of Time. My name is Lisa Strahs-Lorenc, and I'm a bereavement specialist. Hello, Susan. It's good to see you again.
Hi, Lisa. I know it's great to see you. I know it's been about a week. We didn't get
Yeah,
together last week, right? And it feels
right.
like such a long time for
It
us
does. It
because
does.
we try and get a video out every week. I'm
Okay.
Susan Capurso, end of life doula and legacy specialist. And today's topic is niche again to me, but an important one. And I think this is something that we should share with the world. Okay. So we know that everything changes after the loss of a spouse or a partner or a parent or really anybody in our lives. Things change.
It did.
So for many, this was the person that they spent their most time with. Okay? Whether it again be a spouse or a mom or whoever you spend your most time with. And this is who we made our plans with. Okay, this person is who we shared our worries with. And maybe if we didn't live with them, talked with them on the phone every single day of the week. There were, this person was a part of our past. They're a part of our present and a part of our future, right? Our future goals. And being without them now is harder in our own lives, sadder, and more lonely than we could have ever guessed because you can't anticipate these things. And socializing is a big part, and it's never the same after you lose a spouse, maybe a friend that you were out with all the time, or even a parent that you spent time with and did your socializing. So today, Lisa and I would like to talk about this topic in the hopes that a person who's lost a spouse or someone very close to them who they've spent a lot of time with each week will now find solace in knowing that you're not alone in this. And it's also for the person who hasn't experienced the loss of a partner or somebody intimately close in their life. And hopefully now, after our video, you'll be able to learn a little bit more about what a family member or a friend is maybe going through and
Yes,
help you see a little bit more outside the box, and maybe you can be of help to them in some way, shape, or form.
absolutely.
Yeah. So Lisa, how can we
Yeah.
start today?
Yeah, I love relating to stories. And I think that personal stories are really important for people. So I'll start out with a parent story. So we as children grow up with our parents, and they nurture us, and they give us values and beliefs, and they help guide us. People relate to the fact that they call them every day and they say to them, this is what's happening and this is what we're doing and all. Um, and so when you lose a parent, there's this sense of being an orphan, especially when you've lost both parents, because now you've lost all your biological ties or any other kind of ties to that person who influenced your life. I mean, that's how you grew up. That's it. That's everything about what you learned. So there is that loss, and I relate to that sense of loss. I lost three parents, and so I really relate to that, not being able to speak and not being able to communicate. I started writing down things that I would have told my father or my two moms about what I was doing, about how I felt about it. That helped a little bit. It was sort of like a journal kind of thing. Certainly my online memorials, do that as well. But reaching out in that way for me was therapeutic and was helpful. And again, we just try to come up with things that might be helpful. Another thing that I can relate to is that when you have routines with someone, like a spouse, every Sunday we used to go food shopping together, my husband and I. And that was just our tradition. And I found that I was totally unable to go food shopping. I was like in a zone. And I went to my son and I said to him, he was, living at home, and I said to him, "Would you go food shopping with me?" And he did that for a while till I was able to feel like I could do this alone. And it's just, the sense of this is what routine was. This is what we used to do. And now that routine is gone. So you have to find substitutes. You have to find something that works.
You
Again, a
know,
supportive person, a friend, another relative, something that helps you get through to be able to move along, and you're not, it's never the same. We all know it's not the same. Okay. It
right.
can't be the same,
You
but
know,
we're
we're
trying.
creatures of habit.
We
I
are.
have seen that more and more as I get older. We're definitely creatures of habit. I went to an event this past weekend, and it was a 2-day event. And I noticed that the second day, that the people that were there the first day, they would navigate towards the same seat. And I'm
Mhm.
sure you see this all
Yes.
the time. You
Yes.
like the right corner of the room, or you like the back row, or so we're creatures of habit. Now, I want to just touch on you with the grocery store thing, because my husband and I, we didn't have that. We didn't. When I said, can you come with me today? Because I need to go to Costco first and go there, and you can help me carry things. And he'd go, why do we have to shop together? You know, you can go or I can go. Write me a list. Why do we have to go together? And that always bothered me. But I noticed that so many of my friends had that connection where every single Saturday they would have their routine. I even know one couple that would go out to lunch first,
Mhm.
right? Together and spend time, and then hit Costco, and then go to the grocery store, and then hit the other store. So that can turn into a habit, and you do it every single Saturday without fail. Now we're talking here if it was a spouse, right?
Sure.
Now what? Now what? That completely has rocked your world.
Sure. Sure. And same thing with all the social things as well. Going,
Right.
I mean, this is a real coupled society. And so now going alone to a movie, I mean, I went alone to a movie after maybe a couple months, and it felt very strange. But I did it because I said, I need to do this for myself and feel like I could.
So
And I
you
did.
challenged yourself
I did. I did.
with
And at
many
first,
things I know.
I felt lonely, but I said, okay, what do I want to eat as snacks? What do I want to get? Where do I want to sit? I mean, I just started thinking in terms of me and not us. It was very different. Same thing with a restaurant. Go out to a restaurant alone. I brought a book so that I wouldn't be, quote, alone, but I brought myself a book that I could read during the lunch that I had. It's very strange. Listen, I used to meet my father every week at a diner. He used to work at a certain place, and that was really convenient, and that was like our routine. That's what we used to do. And when he was gone, it was like this isn't right. I mean, he's not here, to do this anymore. So trying to figure out, either meet a friend or somebody else maybe at the same place, or
Right.
trying to figure out how, and it might not even ever be the same. I mean, maybe you can't go to that diner anymore. It's hard, and we all
I,
who have been there need to understand that, and for those who haven't been there, need to understand it for our friends and for our relatives, because it is difficult.
I think what I'm hearing what I heard you just say that stood out to me was that you have to um you have to really challenge yourself
You do.
when you step out of the box and mindfully think of what you're going to do now today
Yeah.
and how you might do this, and maybe how you might do some things in a little bit different way. Like you always went to Costco. You like Costco. I don't know. Could it be maybe visit another Costco close by? Could it be going to BJ's now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Could it be doing things in a little bit different way? Could it be going to the same Costco and you always went to the right and went to the produce first and the frozen section? Could it be now, let's start to the left and let's get all my, cleaning supplies first and just do it differently? Because when you do things differently, your brain works in a funny way. Just like we always hear that getting in the car and not taking that same route to work, maybe taking a different route, through a different neighborhood, and I think that maybe some of those challenging ourselves to do things a little bit differently, right?
I I think there also needs to be an acceptance that this being alone thing is uncomfortable, right? It's very different for us. It's a new feeling, it's a lonely feeling, uh, and it's sad. However, as you said, creating something out of that that might be different or creating a new pattern is very helpful. Or involving new people, like my son ended up going food shopping with me for a while because he understood that I really needed some support. So doing some things that maybe again are a little different. Listen, going to an affair, like a wedding or a bar mitzvah, something alone. I did that
So
only.
let's talk about that for a minute. I'd like to talk about when you're invited to things. A lot of people will say no at the invitation.
Yeah.
And while you speak for a second, Lisa, I didn't plug in my charger, so I'm
Okay.
going to do that
Okay.
because I'm at 5% here.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
but let's talk about the wedding thing.
Sure. So I was invited to a dual bat mitzvah, I would say March. So we're talking less than 2 months from the time that my husband died. Now it was relatives, which might be different from friends. But the point is, it was very hard for me to go alone to this. I mean, I definitely felt like I was missing my other half, and that is uncomfortable. And I sat with that for a while. But I said it was more important to be there than not be there. And I had definitely times of sadness, certain songs, and we were dancers, my husband and I. I mean, we were ballroom dancers and we were good. And I miss the dancing and I miss the celebrating together. I miss my partner being next to me. Um, I did,
That has to be really difficult
it
being
was.
dancers or being active together, even with sports,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right. That's right. And everything. Listen, people travel, people, think of all the things that people do together. And now here you are alone. Now, just talking about travel really fast, there are travel groups. There are singles groups. There are women's groups just for travel. I mean, I started looking up travel because there's certain places I want to go. And my new significant other has no interest in going there. And I thought, I need to do these things, and I'm not going to do it alone because I don't want to travel alone per se. But if I traveled in a group of single women or widowers or whatever, I mean, there are groups that have a lot of different activities.
And
And
not
so,
even widowers,
yeah, that
type of socialization, any kind of group, even getting out there on a Friday night to play bingo if you're a senior and they do that at the senior center.
yes,
The
yes,
key is, I think, is looking to see what's out there,
yes,
asking around, and then forcing yourself,
yes.
no
There
matter
is
how hard it might be.
right. There is meetup.com, and that's thousands of clubs. And that's where the Belmore widowers came from. But there's a lot. There's people who like to hike. There's people who like to fish. There's people who like to read. People like wine. I mean, there's all kinds of meetup groups that you can look at. And you can find, I mean, I found Seven in Heaven there. And that was just single people who want to be in activities. And that's where I went whitewater rafting. I went to a dude ranch. I wasn't, I just wanted to do things with people who were in the same situation as me, who were not attached to somebody else. And I met great friends there. I mean, I still have friendships from that.
Let's go a little bit deeper though, because we are talking about the socialization aspect, right?
Yes, yes.
So you're doing some new things, you're with new people, you're a little uncomfortable. Is talking about your loss something you should be doing in these activities with people? Is not talking about it? Is getting out there and just being a new person in a new skin? What do you think about that?
I have really torn feelings about it because when you just start talking, it just takes over everything. And
Mm.
and what I really liked, which was really refreshing, is that nobody knew me in the group. So I could be this new, clean slate. I could just be this new person they didn't know yet. I didn't have to just tell my story.
Yeah.
Whereas the widowers group, everybody's telling how long ago was it, what happened to the person, and sometimes I feel like, hey, we need to get to the next step of that, and I understand we all share that, but let's figure out now, what else are we going to do with our lives? What do we want to do as human
Depending
beings?
again where you are on that timeline,
Correct.
right? If
Correct.
it's weeks
That,
or months,
yeah. Yeah.
no rules here,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Correct.
But what about, okay, so Lisa, what about socializing with family members who know what you've just gone through, but yet you want to attend that Thanksgiving dinner, or you want to have people over, and or you want to go to these different events with family members?
I'm going to tell you the worst part for me. You want to hear
Yeah.
the app? And for me personally, the worst thing that anybody could do is never mention his name, like he never existed. And so, you know, to me, that's almost a second death. Not only has he died before, but now he died with everybody's memories. That's for me. Now, other people say, hey, it's good. Nobody talked about him. I didn't cry. And by the way, this crying thing in our society, I don't even get that, because crying is a measure of love and is a demonstration of love. And everybody thinks if you start crying, you can't pull yourself back together again. That's not true. That's not true. It is fine. But, again, it's a very personal thing. But for me, I'm very hurt when my own family, like that family in March, never mentioned his name. And they could have said, hey, you guys were really good dancers. I'm sure you missed him being something. And I felt like punched in the face. That's how I personally felt. Now, other people might have felt, hey, I got through the affair and I did fine and great. But I know how it made me feel.
And that's one of the things that I always do, especially with my two boys. I always, um, I always say, "Oh, imagine what Daddy would have thought about
Yes.
that,"
Yes.
or
Yes.
"Daddy would have done that,"
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
"Daddy would have loved that."
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that I do with them. That's important. I know so many people just push a loss under the carpet, and they think that, we talk about that a lot, that
Yes.
by not
Yes.
talking about it, it'll be easier for you. But
Yes.
no, you need to just, even if it's a mention, I know you must miss him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
know
same thing
you
with
must miss
parents,
him.
by the way,
And we
because
all miss him.
yes. And same thing with parents.
Yeah.
We can talk about values and we can talk about things that they instilled in us and refer to that. I mean, I think that's a beautiful thing. Again, being remembered is all part of a life. And the life just doesn't, yes, the life physically ended, but the life still is there to celebrate. And so being alone is uncomfortable and being alone is is challenging. Okay. But I think that what you learn is how to be alone with yourself, and
Yeah,
it's a process,
it
and it's not
definitely is.
easy.
New learning
Listen, most
activity.
of us have been couples. I mean, as couples since I was what, 18. I mean, think about it. And then now you're not a couple anymore, or you had parents and now you're not parents anymore. And so each stage gives you that challenge of, well, now what can you be, and now how am I going to develop, and how am I going to change myself to meet this new challenge?
So I guess what we're really saying here is, in social situations, it depends what kind of social situation it is, right? So if you're going to new groups, or you're with new people that don't know your story, maybe that's not the right time to sit down and tell them your story. Breathe, give yourself a chance to breathe a little bit and let go and be you again, right? And maybe in family situations, it is a time to acknowledge. It is a time because they're going through the same loss as well.
Yeah.
Maybe not as strong as you, but it is. So I guess it really depends on what kind of social situation that you're in.
Yeah.
But getting out there is key,
It is
because
key.
there are people that become unsocial,
Right.
very unsocial.
Reclusives. They just stay in the house. And you know what? I get it, because it's safer in the house. You don't have to face anybody. You don't have to have anybody question anything. You don't have to be anybody else. You just stay in your house and there you are safe. But
And
there's a
today in 2022, today,
yeah,
It's
Yeah,
very easy to order Amazon, to order your groceries, to order,
right.
it's very easy not to go out of your house.
Yeah,
So maybe baby steps, maybe get out there and walk,
yes,
and if you walked with this person a lot, walk in a different direction. Try and get a little bit more physical and move a little more.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, like bicycle riding or anything active that you used to do together.
Or just take a drive. Take a drive if it's a Saturday or if you're home during the week and go to a nice lake, right?
Yes,
We met that day, Lisa. It was beautiful and there
it
are
was.
benches all around and we sat and we had conversation for hours just in the beauty.
Yes,
And that really helps.
it
That
does.
really helps from not sitting in your own living room.
It
So
does.
call somebody reach out to other people that you haven't spoken to in a while. Take baby steps, but mindfully know that I need to be social to be mentally healthy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And it's interesting because I find that men have more difficulty because the women used to do all the calendars. So now they don't know how to do their social calendar and figure out where to go and what to do. Women are pretty social
A
beings
little
in
better
general.
at it.
Yeah,
You think?
I
Hmm.
do. I do because I've seen it in groups. They don't
Yeah.
come out as much. They don't organize themselves as much. I've seen it.
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah,
Women, I guess, are a little more independent. And that's why we see a lot of widows that don't get married right away, that are independent for time to come until they eventually meet somebody. And I think it is a statistic, and I don't
it
know what
is.
that is, that men
It is.
that lose their wives tend to look for somebody to marry again right away.
Yep. Yep.
So you can have that relationship. Who's to say what's right and wrong? I don't know anything anymore. To each his own, right?
This is really about trying to figure out what you can do to help yourself. This is what it really is.
Yes.
And the relationship, even with a sibling. If you were used to calling up that sibling all the time
Ugh,
and doing these and your same thing. I mean, now you have to find other people who you can share something with or time with or whatever. The
right.
relationships are all different.
Yeah.
But the important thing is that feeling alone and feeling lonely is understandable, but we just have to figure out ways and strategies to help ourselves. And taking baby steps is really important. After a month of shopping with my son, he had had it and I'd had it. We were done. And I was okay shopping alone after that. But he went every Sunday with me for the 4 weeks in February. He went every Sunday. And then I realized that I would be okay. And I remember the first time I went, I couldn't figure out where my credit card was. And I kept saying to her, I just need a couple more minutes to find this thing. And it felt awkward and uncomfortable, but I got through it and I did okay. And then each time it got a little better and a little easier. So, again, pushing yourself out a little bit and embracing.
Especially with a spouse, right? A lot of people just use the phrase that they were my better half or they're
That's
my
right.
other half. And
Right.
now I feel like only a half, not a whole,
Yeah.
right? And that's so understandable.
You know, I want
When
to tell
I
you
when
something.
I left, I'm sorry to
Go
interrupt
ahead.
you,
Go, go.
but I had to go back to work pretty much right away after my husband passed. It was, I don't know, a week or so. And as I'm leaving the building every single day, I'd be rushing and I couldn't wait to get home and I'd have to walk to the parking garage. So I would pull my phone out and I usually would call him and
Mm,
say, so what are we having for dinner? How was your day? And just be chit-chatting. So I'll never forget it. It was the week later and I'm walking out of the building and I grabbed my phone out and I called his phone and I got his voicemail. And it blew me away how we can react after a loss without even knowing what we're doing.
yeah, yeah,
It was just, yeah, I was able to think in a different way because I wasn't home crying. I was at a work situation. But then the minute I left, I just naturally
sure. Sure.
wanted to talk to him.
Sure.
So I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, no. And that's, yeah. Yeah, I relate to those kinds of things, I really do. But my husband and I used to talk about triage. And we made, because I was an early childhood teacher, we made these little um, figures on a stand, and we made them out of, the colored wire from telephone wire. Do you know the colored wire? It's inside a cable. You have all different
Oh
colors
yeah.
inside a cable. Anyway, I got a hold of all that because I was an early childhood teacher and we were making little sculptures, right? And I made something called the triage. So I made him, I think he was red and blue, and two like figures. I mean, I'm not artistic. And in the middle, they came together and intertwined, okay? But there was always still something left over on his side, and there was still something left over on my side. And then there was this intertwining. So, what I'm saying here is that the intertwining is gone now because that person's not physically there. But the two, me over here, I'm still me. Okay. I'm
You're
just a,
you're still here.
that's right. I'm still here. And so to cultivate me means that I need to go out and grow. And that's what that symbolized. And that was a long time ago, by the way. It was a long time ago, but we saw it, we understood that there are two individuals and a couple.
Yeah.
And not listen, not everybody has, that kind of strong individuality and stuff, but they need to develop it again then. And same thing with parents. Some people live with their parents even older and they take care of their parents, and then now their parents are gone. Now they've lost their caregiver role, and now who are they? Now they have to find a new role for themselves.
Right.
So, and that's big. That's big,
It's
all of us.
really big. It's really big and it's happening every day.
It
And I,
is.
I I hear about it all the time, and now what do I do?
Yeah.
Now what?
That chapter is closed. And now I feel like in your book, you now write a new chapter. You have to fill in new time. This is an opportunity to develop and to grow in different ways. And it is challenging and it is scary, but it is part of life.
It is. And
That's,
reflecting and reviewing and learning about who you were before, and maybe there were things that you lost in that connection with that
yes,
person. And
yes,
you didn't get to be your full self or do some of the things that you used to like to do. Even if is with a parent, maybe you were with them every weekend and that was the rule and that's what you did. And now here is Saturday or Sunday when you spent time with them, and now what?
right.
Now what do you do? So planning. It's all about planning too. Sometimes it's really hard to come up with things at the spur of the moment.
Sure.
But if you can mindfully sit down with a piece of paper and pen and say, okay, there are 4 weekends out of this month. Yeah, I could do laundry. I could, those
You
kind of things.
sure you can
But if
fill in
you're
lots of
used to
times.
being out of the house and if you're used to being, you want to fill that time with maybe some meaningful things that are really special for you.
Yes,
Every Saturday, I'm going to go to a different beach and I'm going to walk on the beach. Even if it's for an hour or two, I'm going to fill in that time that I spent with them
yes,
to do something a little bit more differently, something that I love. I'm
yes,
going to take a book and go sit in a park or take a drive and visit a new town and be a tourist in my own city.
right, right.
Maybe you could do some of that. And as you do things like this, though, even though you don't want to, again, it's forcing yourself to fill
Sure.
some of these challenges. But I think as you start to do some of these things, wow, your mind will get to feel
Yes,
a little bit lighter because you're seeing new things, you're learning new things. And you might even find that you're smiling again from time to time.
yes, yes.
And don't feel guilty about
That's
that.
right. That's right. That's
This
right.
is what you're supposed to be doing.
That's right. Talking about opening up new doors. When I sold my house, and it's hard, to sell your house after all the memories in that house and everything that goes on. When I sold my house, and I went into my apartment, I realized this was the first time that I'd lived alone in years. I mean, like many years. And the excitement was that I got to decorate that apartment all by myself. I had a vision of what I wanted to look like. I went and I had a plan for each of the rooms. Let me just tell you
You
something.
told me this
That
story. I love
apartment,
that.
I loved it. I loved it. It was so much fun to me. And again, it opened up, yeah, it was challenging walking into the furniture store, trying to figure out, what I was going to do, what I should buy, what my
But it
budget
was
was.
also your taste. And guess
You're right.
what? For the
That's right.
first time in your life, you
Yeah,
didn't have to compromise.
that's right. I bought everything that I wanted to buy for my apartment, and I loved it. I had a lot of pride in that apartment. It was mine. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that it can turn into something that becomes, a sense of self, and it can really boost you. You know, it's hard. It's hard
And
to.
as you're going through these socialization issues, right? Just always remember the word gentle. Be
Yes,
gentle with yourself.
that's right.
Treat yourself kindly.
Yeah.
You know, if it means the only place that you enjoy going to get out of the house is to get a manicure pedicure, or getting a massage, or take those baby steps to do that, and get out and talk to people. Talk to people. When you step outside of your own head and you're interested in other people, in the healing garden that I make, Lisa, one of the phrases on the rocks, that I do, one of the phrases is something like, be kind to someone else today, just
Mm,
once today. Something like that. But it's so important to think of others, because when you do that, it takes you outside of your shoes for a few minutes.
yes, yes,
And that's how things will start to get a little lighter and a little better in your world that feels like it's just
yes.
a broken puzzle.
Yes, yes. And it is a process, and everybody goes through it differently, and everybody has a different journey. So don't compare with other people. I should be here now. I should be doing this now. That's not it. And we are very clear about that. Everybody is very different in how they experience, and of course, the relationship that they had and that they lost. I mean, there's a lot of variables here, but you're right. Be kind to yourself and love yourself because you need to, especially during this time.
And I'm glad you made that point, that, don't everybody take our videos to heart, because there are so many different situations.
That's right.
You could be a person who's 30, 40, 50, 60, or 80 years old that recently lost a child. Okay. And that's a very, very
Mm,
sensitive
mm,
subject for Lisa
yeah,
and I.
yeah,
We're not so experienced in that. So
yeah. But my grandmother was, and I watched
your
her,
grandmother was,
and
but we aren't. So
we
we,
aren't.
we just,
Yes,
we have to remind people, um, to just be gentle, no matter what the situation is, and to take baby steps. Little baby steps will get you not to where you'll get over it, or
no,
you'll forget, or you won't have the memories,
uh,
right? But they'll take you to where I can breathe now. I can function a little bit. I can go out shopping. I can go out with a friend for dinner on Friday night.
yeah,
Every baby step you take will help you in the world of socializing with other people.
yes,
No matter what, maybe it's just going to church every Sunday, starting with that, if you have a church that you're affiliated with. So it doesn't matter what it is, but be gentle, be easy, and do what's right for you,
that's
but
right.
feel a little uncomfortable
Yes,
in
yes,
stepping out the box and challenging yourself in some
yes.
of the, because that's the only thing that's going to help you propel to move forward.
It's
It's
true.
the only thing, is to take that step, and it'll feel uncomfortable. So I'm
Yes.
sorry I interrupted you about
No,
what you saw your grandmother.
I often thought about what it must have been like to lose a child an adult child. I mean, a child, period. Okay, period. And I always felt that sense of pain for her, horrible pain. Um, and get over it or whatever that is, that's ridiculous. Life can never be the same for any of our losses and all, but we owe it, and we know it. We owe it to ourselves to try and live life the best we can and make the life that we can for ourselves, no matter what it holds for us. And so, as you said, being gentle and being kind and treating yourself, as you need to be treated, by
But talk
others.
about, Lisa, talk about how you watched your grandmother from you were a very young child, but then you were a teenager, then you were an adult, and you still watched your grandmother, what? Not
Living.
participate in socialization,
Yeah,
not move forward, not take the baby steps
it's true.
that would have propelled her to a more healthy living lifestyle.
True.
You watched her sit in that room,
Yep.
and anybody who knocked on the door, she gave a tour of the room,
Yeah.
the memorial that she built.
Yeah.
We talked
Yeah.
about that in another video.
Yeah.
And she didn't move on.
Yep.
She
Yep.
didn't propel herself.
Yep.
And you watch that as well, and you know how unhealthy that can be.
I did. I saw it. I saw it firsthand. And
And
I
it's
felt
sad,
for her. And when
right?
I was little, I certainly felt guilty for her. I felt like, a child feels like it's their fault, even though they didn't do anything. They felt like it's their fault. And so I felt like I had to be her daughter and her granddaughter because, that was, my mother was an only child. I was an only child. There was nobody else. It all fell on our shoulders, me. So,
But you also got to firsthand see that she lived miserably.
yes,
She was
yes.
not a happy camper.
No, she was not. She was not.
And I'm not saying that everybody that goes through
Mm-mm.
loss will be happy campers. That's not what I mean.
Yeah,
But she didn't grieve healthy
correct. Correct.
and therefore stayed stagnant in that spot for the rest of her life,
Correct.
right?
Correct. And she's buried, by the way, next to her daughter, because that's what she asked for. Not her husband, not my grandfather, but her daughter. That's where we put
So
her.
so we see a situation like that, and that's you're hurting yourself.
You are.
But it's nobody's responsibility in the whole entire world to fix you.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
nobody's. It's
It's
nobody's responsibility to take the thoughts that are out of your head that you think about 500,000 times a day that keep going in circles and circles. And it's nobody's responsibility but you.
correct.
It's
Correct.
your responsibility to take action, to take baby steps to help you grieve this loss and to move on and to celebrate them in a brand
That's
new
right.
way, something
That's
that we
right.
talk about all the time.
That's right. So we have never forgotten them. That's what's really important for people to understand. We don't forget people, but we celebrate them even though they're not here. And we celebrate especially the fact that we can move forward with our lives because that's what they would want. They would all want us to be happy and living life the best we can. It is not what we thought it was going to be. You thought you'd grow older with your husband. I thought I'd grow older. I thought that my parents would see their grandchildren and their great grandchildren. I mean, there's so many things here, but we can't just dwell. You dwell on that and it prevents you from living your life. And so, this being alone, you have to just embrace it and embrace that it is uncomfortable and embrace sometimes that it's sad, but that you need to move. You need to get going in little ways that are helpful, to
And
you.
you can.
And you
And you
can.
can. Even if you think, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't. You can. You have the choice. You have the option.
Yeah.
But only you can make that decision.
I said that the other day. There are many choices we have no control over at all. But the one thing we have control over is how we choose to deal with the situations in our lives. Everything that happens in our lives. What are we going to do about it? You can't change the situation, but you can certainly change how you react to it and how you move from it. And that's, And we
And
are,
think,
by the way, we're all stronger than we think. It's
oh, of
unbelievable that we
course.
have amazing strength. We hear these stories and we say, wow, how does everybody get through that? And somehow they do.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And give yourself a goal. You know, think of one thing that you want to give yourself a goal that you want to accomplish after this event, this tragic event in your life now. What can that one goal be? For me, I had a specific goal. I and I still have it. I carry it with me even after 7 years. I want more peace in my life because I went through the losses that I did within that two-year period. I mean, there was some horrific details. I mean, my sister had passed on, and I wanted her to donate her organs and do some really good in the world, but she was addicted and
Mm.
her body was filled with these drugs. So the doctors told me, yes, she can donate her organs still, but we need to wait till everything's flushed out of her body, and that can take 5 to 7 to 9 days. So I sat in the hospital with my sister, who was not alive, flushing out. When I think back at some of
Wow.
these things, I think, how did I get through that? Who in
Yeah.
their right mind would have done that? Most
Wow.
people would have says, okay, no, I'm not going to stay here at the hospital for 7 days.
Yeah.
Okay, just unplug it. I didn't mean to make it
Yeah.
sound like,
Yeah.
um, but so I've been through, many challenges with each loss that I've had. And one of the things after this 2-year period, I thought, you know what? I want to feel peace.
Yeah.
Peace is my goal. I'm making peace my goal. So how can you achieve peace in your life? There are things you can do.
Sure.
Many things. I've learned to meditate. I've learned to listen to audiobooks when I walk that inspire me, that help me learn how to be more peaceful because I didn't have peace and I just wanted peace. And it's not something that you find it tomorrow and you can
Right.
fulfill your goal next week.
Right.
I'm still working after 7 years on finding ways to bring peace into my life. I now have some of those, the branches and that you can have in your living room that have little white lights on them,
Yeah. Yeah.
like fairy lights, I call them,
Hmm.
right? So I have 2 or 3 of those scattered around because when I light a candle or two at night, even if I'm sitting in my living room reading or watching something on TV, that brings me peace.
Mm.
It
Nice.
gives me a sense of calm, and it's almost zen-like and I had to paint my living room other colors, and I had to, bring more pillows in and do different things. Again, things that are bringing me peace. So
Yeah.
you can find that goal for yourself. Your goal may be to be more active. If it was your spouse or your mom and you were never active and you sat all the time, maybe your goal is now to be more active. How can you do that? How can you incorporate that into your life? Baby steps,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Just a little bit at a time.
I've seen some people do amazing things. Some people have actually gone back to school because they always said that they waited to have a degree or to get a graduate degree or to even change a career. They waited. And now all of a sudden they felt, this is my time. There's so many things that you can do if you just keep yourself open to it. And it hasn't betrayed your love for that person in any way. It's actually, to me, demonstrated that you believe in life and that you believe in the love that you had and that they had for you by living. I think that's the best love that you can ever show somebody. That's how I feel.
Ah, that was good.
Yeah, thank you.
That was good. So Lisa, in your spare time, let's hear
In
a
my
little
spare
bit about
time.
what you're doing.
So I have 2 books. They're both support books for pancreatic cancer. However, they're general enough that they could certainly be for anybody. The first one is about the diagnosis and the disease itself, but the second one follows these families moving on with their lives. And each family member has dealt with the death and loss of their significant other differently, and it chronicles through the years, so that's really nice. And the donations go to the Les Carton Foundation. And then I love doing groups. I love facilitating conversations like resilience or how to move on with your life, or the word moving forward. I don't like anybody thinking that we forget. So I love doing groups and I love doing workshops and things like that. And I'm certainly open to that and helping individuals because it's really an individual journey as well. So that's what I do. And you?
Very nice. Well, one of the projects that I work on now is a 4-week project called The Story of Me. I work with people with a terminal diagnosis and healthy and vibrant seniors and baby boomers to get their stories and memories and experiences down on paper and to have them recorded for future generations to come, the generations they'll never get a chance to meet. And this is a 12 by 12 hardcover book with text and photos. It's a 4-week project. I end up with about 10 to 12 hours worth of audio that I weave into the story of you. So you can
Nice.
find that on my website. The Healing Garden is another thing that I've been working on. It's a bowl full of Long Island stones with beautiful phrases on them. I only have a few themes. One is for, and it's actually my biggest seller now. I have a shop on Etsy, and it's for grieving. So if you have a friend who's just had a loss, this would be the bowl to send them. I actually sent one out this morning for somebody sent it to a friend with a cancer diagnosis. And as I'm doing the stones for these, I was working on them, and they're so beautiful. The messages that I've created for somebody going through an experience with cancer. There's one for the caregiver, because who cares for the caregiver? I have one for pet loss and spirituality as well. And those are all on Etsy under the Healing Garden Bowl, or you can find them on my website as well.
And I'm going to vouch for it because I gave it to my dear friend who had lost her brother in a very tragic scuba diving accident, and she was so grateful. And it's something that has been very therapeutic for her, and she has told me that. So thank you.
Very
It's a great
nice. And
gift.
also in the Etsy shop, I offer a way to personalize some of the stones.
Mm,
And I've noticed a few people have been doing that lately. So I take 5 of my stones out and put in 5 of their messages.
nice. Great
And
idea.
it's a beautiful thing because they're making personal messages. Like a woman had lost her husband and she had a nickname for him. And the friend was able to put his name on one of the stones with a couple XOs or whatever. I don't remember exactly how it was, but
Nice.
beautiful thing. So thank you
Nice.
very much for listening in today.
Oh,
And next week, Lisa, I think you'll be away. We'll get together the week after that. And we
well,
appreciate you listening in. Please like our videos and share them with somebody you think may
that would help.
benefit from the value or education that we give.
And
Because
comments also are welcome. We love to see what
yeah,
people say about them and react to them. We have over 60 videos now, and they span everything from end of life issues and celebrating life to loss and grieving and celebrating those we love and lost. So
right.
there's
So
so many things
and
that
believe it or not, at 60 videos, we're just starting to gain some momentum.
that's right.
So you can help us do that. And we
That's right.
appreciate you listening in.
We
So
do.
thank you, Lisa. And
Thank
I
you,
will see
Susan.
you in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Take good care.
Bye.
Bye.